ain't really wanna be moving when it's wartime. Niggas love the clout chase, that's the shit they glorify. I don't even try hard, this gangsta shit immortalized. No records of a trace when your crime is organized. No man is over me, your eyes in the morning time. Low key in the birds when I cross the state borderlines. Spin your block and horrified. Fuck your bitch, you mortified. I'm standing where you draw the line, nigga, hold the line. My nutsack, I'm grabbing mine, both of mine, quit holding mine. You gon' get this work and some overtime, you know the vibe. Little nigga, you know it's me. I don't need them to notice me. When conflict get crucial, I can't help but do them bogusly. Smoke you like a stogie, beat you like you stole from me. Niggas out of body, put you back where you supposed to be. I shoot at you waking in the moment, niggas toast for you. My niggas do the most for me, that's what they supposed to. I want all the smoke, nigga, cut the shit. You think you bad enough and test. And you know how I'm coming, I ain't ducking nothing. You know when I pull up on your block, it's bustin'. You know how I'm coming, and you came with me. You know what's going, stop playing with me. I want all the smoke, nigga, cut the shit. You think you bad enough and test. And you know how I'm coming, I ain't ducking nothing. You know when I pull up on your block, it's bustin'. You know how I'm coming, and you came with me, gang. You know what's going, stop playing with me. Real gangsters move critically. When that shit get critical, no peace amongst enemies, no pity for the pitiful. Real nigga down to the bones and the minerals. Stick to the G code, I never told another soul. True to the literature, now salute the general. Kill you on your birthday, then slide on your funeral. It ain't about the clout chase, I'm a man of principle. Niggas out of body, now they body isn't critical. Cradle to the casket, the life we live is typical. God body, cause I will depart you from your physical. Niggas living fantasies, act like they was the only one. Don't talk to me about these streets, fuck you think you know me from. Just cause you related to the gangsters, that don't make you one. I ain't got no bloodline in these streets, but I can spill me some. I ain't got no mercy for this bitch, and she outside with us. They on demon time, we bring them hell and the fire with us. All this smoke, nigga, cut the shit. You think you bad enough to test. And you know how I'm coming, I ain't ducking nothing. You know when I pull up on your block, it's bustin'. You know how I'm coming and who came with me. You know what's going, stop playing with me. I want all this smoke, nigga, cut this shit. You think you bad enough to test. And you know how I'm coming, I ain't ducking nothing. You know when I pull up on your block, it's bustin'. You know how I'm coming and who came with me, gang. You know what's going, stop playing with me.
Yeah, shalom, shalom. Shalakia. What's good? Shalom, what's good? What's cracking? What's up? I know we see the title, On the Road to Armageddon, Countdown to World War III. Yes. We back, at this, back at it. We, been covering that subject for the last, I guess you want to say, 3 years since Russia did their thing with Ukraine, right? So yeah, we back at it again. Hold on a sec, lock here. My bad. Gotta get on this AV. Pardon me on. So long. All right. So yeah, we back at it. So yeah, but of course, before we get all the way into it, giving all praises to the Most High, we do so in His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, who the world knows as Jesus Christ, right? So unless you've been under a rock or just not paying attention to global news, a lot of stuff happening. You got America kidnapping people, right? Blowing up stuff over there in Africa. There's a whole bunch of stuff, right? And so we're gonna get into some of that stuff. A lot of times when we cover this topic, we kind of focus on Esau and their counterparts and their um, downfall that is prophesied. And but you gotta understand there's other nations that's involved in this whole thing too, because the Most High God is coming back to judge the world. The main reason why we talk about America when we do cover this subject is because we here in America. If we was in another country, we'll be talking about that country, but we here. So that's what's up. So yeah, it's been crazy, right? They done kidnap our man Mardaro, and it's crazy too. Like, and there's so many different layers to it though, cause you got people talking about the oil, they got people talking about the drugs, and it's all of above, like it's not just one thing, the reason why they doing what they doing. Even with the whole Nigeria thing, you think about it. Just a while back, Nigeria was a shithole country, right? That's a shithole place over there. That's what he said, right? He said it's a lot of those countries, man. I don't know what's going on. Right, those shithole countries, right? He said that. And it's crazy that people, getting smart, right? He, supposedly he care about that shithole country. It's a bunch of shithole countries, and he cared about them so much that they're killing those Christians over there. But in the same token, that shithole country is not allowed to come over here. They can't come here. No, we don't want them. We don't want them. They can't come. At the same time, right? So it's hypocrisy, right? It's crazy. So of course, you got Russia and Ukraine doing what they doing. They're not backing down. You got China, you know, want they old thing back with Taiwan. Um, you just got global conflicts on almost every continent of this world, right? And that's what World War III looks like, right? Everybody picking a side. The land and the line in the sand is being drawn, right? But let's get right into it though. Let's start with our dear brother Jeremiah. Let's start at Jeremiah chapter 47, right? So, yeah, we're going to get right into it. Yeah, so it says Jeremiah 47, and start at 1. So it says, hold on 1 second. Alright, so it says, the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah the prophet against the Philistines. Before that Pharaoh smote Gaza. Right? So we know what's going on over there in the Middle East, and you gotta understand the Most High is judging that place, right? You read about it in Ezekiel 35, I believe. And it says, let's get this real quick. And it says, this is second Ezra 5 and 42. So it says, let's read this again real quick though. It says, the word of the Lord came unto Jeremiah the prophet against the Philistines before that Pharaoh smote Gaza. Thus said the Lord, behold, waters rise up of the north and shall be overflowing flood, and shall overflow the land, and all that is therein, the city them and them that dwell therein. Then the man shall cry, and the inhabitants of the land shall holler, right? So, hold on real quick. So it's talking about judgment, to this place, right? And to those, to that land over there, and to the people, right? And so, Second Ezra 5 and 42 says this, and he said unto me, I will liken my judgment unto a ring, right? Because we got this old saying that says, what goes around come around, right? So, and as so is the Most High's judgment, and cause a lot of times, stuff happen, and a lot of people be, looking like why this is going on, but not understanding that the Most High judgment, is like a ring, or how we say in today's terminology, what goes around come around. So just like how Egypt destroyed the Philistines and in the Gaza Strip before in time past, the Most High God is going to judge that place again. And as we can see, it's going down now. Right? So that's why it says, and he said unto me, I will liken my judgment unto a ring, like as there is no slackness of the last, even there is no swiftness of the first. Meaning, he's going to get you. Right? A lot of times we look at certain people and we think they got away with certain things or whatever, but he's going to get you. And because it's one thing that it's like this, because we have something called regeneration. So even if he don't get you in this lifetime, when you regenerate into the next life, he's gonna jack you up in that lifetime, right? Because it tells us in the book of Ecclesiasticus, judgment take place on under the sun. So but we a lot of us grew up thinking when you die, you go to heaven or you go to hell, and that's the thing. No, your heaven and your hell is right here on earth, right? So when you come back, if you have a blessed life, then that's just your reward for whatever you did in your past life, and vice versa, right? And so anyway, so it says, and he said unto me, I will liken my judgment unto a ring, like as there is no slackness of the last, even there is no swiftness of the first. Meaning, what goes around come around, he's going to get you, right? Whether it's in this life or the next life, he's going to get you, right? So back to Jeremiah. And it say, thus said the Lord, behold, the waters rise up out the north, and shall be overflowing, and shall overflow the land. So these waters is talking about armies, right? It's not talking about actual water flooding the land of Israel. It's talking about armies coming down, marching down on the land of Israel, and it's going to be like a flood, right? Rushing in. That's how swift and quick these armies is going to move in. Then it says, and shall be overflowing, and shall overflow the land, and all is therein, the city and them that dwell therein. Then the man shall cry, and the inhabitants of the land shall holler. So then they're gonna be very afraid in that day when they see all these nations coming in, towards that direction, because the Most High is bringing all these armies together to the valley, decisions, like we can read in the book of Joel and the Revelation also, right? Then it says, in the noise of the stampling of the hoofs of the strong horses, in the rushing of the chariots, in the rumbling of his wheels, the fathers shall not look back to their children for the feeble of their hands. So when the armies is coming in, and it's all hell breaking loose, and like I said, we can look on the news and see, we saw what was going on, how they was, dismantling the whole Gaza Strip over there, right? And everything that was going down. And it's saying that it's going to be so terrible where fathers is going to be running and they going to leave their children for fear, right? And it says, the fathers shall not look back to their children for feebleness of hands, because they're going to be too weak to do anything, right? And then it says, because of the day that cometh to spoil the Philistines, all the Philistines, and to cut off Tyrus and Zidon, every helper that remaineth, for the Lord will spoil the Philistines, and remember, in the remnant of the country out of Captar, right? So, like I said, the Most High God is judging these people, right? And this is, and real quick, because some people, because we look on the news, we see TikTok, we see all this stuff, we be like, oh, that's horrible. But let's understand what's going on real quick before we read a little further, right? So let's get it right here. So it says, this is Ezekiel 36:5, and it says, therefore thus saith the Lord God, surely in the fire of my jealousy I have spoken against the residue of the heathen, right? So, and that's will include them over there, right? They are the heathen or the Gentiles, right? Heathen being a more derogatory way of calling them Gentiles. Then it says, the residue of the heathen, and against all Idumea, right? And we know who Idumea is. That's the Latin way, Greek way of saying Esau, Edom, right? Then it says, which had appointed my land to their possession. So we know history, right? I mean, we can look at the history books. We can look at and see what's going on around the world. Who's over there, right? Who appointed that land into their possessions, right? Then it says, with joy of their heart and despiteful minds, therefore prophesy concerning. It says concerning the land of Israel, and say unto the mountains and the hills and the rivers and the valleys, thus saith the Lord, behold, I have spoken in my jealousy and in my fury, because ye have borne the shame of the heathen. And what did I say? Boom. So so it says, therefore, let me read this. And it says, therefore, thus said the Lord God, I have lifted up my hand, and surely the heathen that are about you, they shall bear their shame. So, that's why there's so much turmoil going on over there, right? Because, the Most High, like, okay, you want to be over in that land, you have to suffer the curses for being in that land, and it's war since y'all over there. And it says, let's jump back up to verse 5. And it says, which have appointed my land into their possession. So they went over there and carved up the land, with the Belfort Declaration and, other means and other treaties. And they carved up the land and said, okay, you get this, you get that, you get this, right? So the Most High God is not cool with that, He got rules and regulations on how to deal with the land, right? He ain't cool with that. So now we get the gist that he's mad at these people for being over there. So let's get back over here, right? So it says, the baldness is come upon Gaza. Escalon is cut off with the remnant of their valley. How long wilt thou cut thyself? Right? Then it says, the baldness of Gaza, where the baldness is upon Gaza, meaning they're exposed, they're gonna, destruction. And it says Escalon is cut off with the remnant of their valley. How long will thou cut thyself? So let's get Habakkuk really quick. Habakkuk 2:17, right? And it says, for the violence of Lebanon shall cover thee, and the spoil of the beast which made them afraid, because of man's blood, for the violence of the land, the city. It says the city and and all that dwell therein. It says, so let me read it again. It says, for the violence of Lebanon shall cover thee, and the spoil of the beast which made them afraid. So just, when we were in the land and all the different nations was, coming at us, and, when you read the history of the Israelites. So now that's why when they're over there, they're fighting. They've been fighting since the 40s, right? It says, for the violence of Lebanon shall cover thee, and the spoil of the beast which made them afraid. Meaning, and the beast is talking about these other nations. And it says, because the blood of men, and for the violence of the land, of the city, of all that dwell therein. Right? So like I said, so that's why it's violence over there, because they're over in that land, and they took the land by violence, and they're carving it up, and the Most High God is not cool with that. Let's get Zechariah 9:1 real quick. And it says, the burden of the word of the Lord in the land of Harak and Damascus shall be the rest thereof, when the eyes of men, as of the tribes of Israel, shall be towards the Lord. So when the Most High God is done showing these people what's really going on, we're going to finally have peace, in that land. We're going to be able to dwell over there safely. Don't have to worry about any other nation touching us, right? Because the Most High God is going to, deal with those nations, right? Let's get Ezekiel really quick, 28. It says, Ezekiel 28 and 1 says, the word of the Lord again came unto me, saying, Son of man, say unto the prince of Tyrus, thus saith the Lord God, because thy heart is lifted up, and thou hast said, I am God, I sit in the seat of God, in the midst of the sea, yet thou art a man, and not God. Thou hast set thy heart as the heart of God. And that's what these people have done. They have placed themselves as the people of God. They have placed themselves as this godly, benevolent people, right? And they have people looking at them as they're some type of benevolent, people. People look at them like, they coming to help and rescue, right? You see some of those people celebrating, for, Maduro getting, kidnapped. Some people celebrating it. And then some of the people in Cuba, are their brothers over there, the tribe of Manasseh, and they, it's just crazy, right? It's just, I mean, sure, the government is jacked up. Okay, we get it, right? But let's not act like America government is this perfect, sustained government. It's not, right? They actually, it's the reason why a lot of these governments are jacked up. When you look into it. It says, so alright, yeah, that's it on that. Let's get, let's go back to Jeremiah real quick. Hold on. So it says O thou verse 6 it says, O thou sword of the Lord, how long will it be ere thou be quiet? Put up thyself unto the put up thyself unto thy scabbard, rest and be still. Because when the Most High God decides to, finally move and destroy these nations, we're going to be at rest. We're going to be, finally have that peace. And it says, how can it be quiet, seeing the Lord has given it a charge against Ascalon and against the sea of the shore? There has he appointed. Right? So, like I said, so he's going to judge that place. But once we get over there, after all that take place, we're going to finally have that harmony. Peace in harmony, right? Let's get, let's get Jeremiah 49 real quick, verse 7, right? So, now let's go to 48 real quick. Jeremiah 48 first. And it says, against Moab, thus said Yahweh, the host of God of Israel. So now Moab, in case those that don't know, right? Moab is the biblical nationality for for China, for the Chinese. Their ancient biblical nationality, they go back to the Moabites. So, and it says, against Moab, thus said the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, woe unto Nebo, for it is spoiled. Cataraim is confounded and taken. Misgab is confounded and dismayed. There shall be no more praise of Moab and Heshbon. They have devised evil against it. Come and let us cut off from being a nation. Also, thou shalt be cut down, a madman. The sword shall pursue thee. So the Most High God is gonna get at the Moabites, right? He's gonna get at those Chinese people, right? And so, like I said, everybody got it coming. So, of course, we always focus on Esau here in America because that, this the devil we know. But the Most High God got plans for all these nations that had a hand in the downfall of his people, right? And it says, the voice of crying shall be from a hero man, spoiling and great destruction. Moab is destroyed. Her little ones have caused a cry to be heard. For the ongoing with Lutha continue weeping, go up for the going down of Heromium, and the enemies have heard a cry of destruction. Flee and save your lives, and be like heath in the wilderness. Because you gotta understand, this war that's coming, they're not gonna be shooting with their little pistol starters and their little things. It ain't gonna be no, their little pow pow and bang bang and then they go get a little tank and they go boom boom and blow up stuff. No. They're fighting with nukes. Okay, they got nuclear weapons. So when China and Russia and Korea and Iran decide to push that red button, of course America's gonna push their button too, right? Then when everybody else is pushing their button, then the other country's gonna be like, oh well shoot, why not push our button too? Send it all up, right? And that's how it's gonna go down. So although this place here is gonna be wiped off the map, but then of course America and everybody else and their allies and stuff like that, they're gonna fire their things in retaliation, and then they also gonna be kind of messed up over there, right? So that's how it goes down, and then that's the thing that's why we need to be in charge. What I mean by we, meaning the Black, Hispanic, and Native American people, God's people, the Israelites. That's the reason why God is putting us in charge when he comes back. Because look what we got to deal with. Look at the people that's running this world. They have weapons that is capable of wiping all humanity off the planet, right? And they have something called mutual destruction, where if somebody push the button, then everybody push the button. We're just gonna blow this whole planet up. Then these are psychopaths that's running this planet. That you have to be a psychopath to think that way, right? Don't you? Wouldn't you? If you create a self-destruction weapon that can end all life, right? You already used it twice before, and the stuff you got now is way bigger. What type of mindset, what type of person you would have to be to make something like that and actually use it twice, right? So those are the people that's running this thing, right? People that is suicidal, right? It's crazy. It gotta be. Because look at the type of weapon, the destruction it causes. You have to not care about life to have a weapon like that, right? But that's what they got, and that's what they're gonna use. So when it says, "Flee, save your lives, and be like a heath in the wilderness," so you're like, look, you better get up out of there because it's about to get risen, right? Utter destruction. right? I just jumped to 49 real quick. Jeremiah 49 and 7. So it says, concerning Edom, thus saith the Lord of hosts, is wisdom no more in Teman. And we see the stupid decisions our government is making and their other European counterparts is making, right? And it says, is there no more wisdom in Teman? Is counsel perished from the prudent? Is their wisdom vanished? So all their little top military aides and advisors and politicians and stuff like that, I mean, they're all the decisions they making is just bringing us closer and closer to this whole coming war thing, right? And it says, is counsel perished from the prudent? Is their wisdom vanished? And the answer is yes. Look at the news. Look at our politicians. Look at the stuff they talking about. Look at the stuff that they doing, right? I mean, the man that went and kidnapped a whole family. These people were sitting in their bed, sleep. Didn't even consult with Congress or nothing, right? Did some stuff over there in Africa, right? This out here renegade, right? And it says, is their wisdom vanished? And their wisdom is vanished. That's why they're making all these crazy decisions. Hold on. Because I mean, because they have a spirit on them of that spirit they have of conquering and unaliving everything that they come across is not gonna fade. That sensation is not gonna go away. That's what they do. You ought to be surprised they lay dormant this long, right? I mean, the man was talking about taking Canada like about a year or so ago when he was running for president. If you remember, the man was talking, hey, maybe we should make Canada the 51st state. So the man is all about that. They all about empiring. I think I just made that word up. Sometimes I be making up words. Yeah, they all about empiring. I like that word. So that's what they're all about, right? Remember he wanted Greenland. Remember he was trying to do something with Greenland. And France was like, nah, we're gonna was it France or Sweden? One of them like, nah, we're gonna send our soldiers over there to make sure you ain't taking nothing over here, right? So he like, well, all right, fine, okay, let's go try Nigeria and Venezuela then, right? So they that's the name of the game, imperialism, right? No, that's a word. So now, they like I said, that's the name of the game, because there's no real reason, right? Other than the fact that they know they gotta eventually, fight the BRIC squad. So they're trying to gather up resources from these little smaller nations, so they can be able to fight the big fight. That's what it's all about. So let's get this really quick. Obadiah. Obadiah. What's Obadiah? Now, hold up. Obadiah. Acting like you don't want to be found. Hold on one second. You go to Obadiah and verse 1, I mean, not verse 1, verse 8. So it says, and shall not in that day, said the Lord, even destroy the wise man out of Edom. And that's what's going on there. Whole, thought process to make proper decisions, it's going out the window, right? They losing their wits. That's why you see, you see one of them, especially like just the average, take one of the average one of the little low level ones. They say, you hear them say, we're losing the country, right? And you be like, who are you losing the country to? You people control everything. I mean, it just makes no sense because their wisdom is being taken from them, right? They're being exposed for who they really are. They're Neanderthalic, cavemanic, barbaric, troglodyte nature is coming out, right? And they can't hide it. So back over here. And say, flee ye and turn back, dwell deep, O inhabitants of Dedan, for I will bring the calamity of Esau upon him, the time that I will visit him, right? So he said he's gonna bring calamity on these people when he come to visit these people, right? Revelation 16, real quick. And that calamity is coming in the form of nuclear fire. Revelation 16 and 10, right? And it say, the fifth angel poured out his vial upon the seat of the beast. And the seat of the beast is talking about America, because America is the head of the NATO, and they sit on the in the UN. They control the EU and all that stuff, right? NATO and the EU. And it says, so that's the beast. That's the seat of the beast. The government of America is the seat of the beast, to make it plain and simple, right? So it says, and the fifth angel poured out his vial upon the seat of the beast, which will be the government of America. And it says, and his kingdom was filled with darkness, and they gnawed their tongues for pain, right? And that and that darkness is talking about, it's metaphor, manifold too, because number one, it's darkness because of the destruction and the hell that's going to take place in this land, right? The insurrections, the seditions, all that stuff's going to be taking place. Then on the flip side, I mean, you get hit with a nuclear bomb, that's a EMP, right? There's no electricity after that happened. That's a EMP blast. That's knocking out all electricity. It's gonna be darkness, right? It's gonna be like Charlie Murphy, darkness, right? So, and what do you think is gonna happen if the whole country is black, or at least half the country has a blackout, or a good portion, at least a third, right? Right? What do you think is going to happen, right? Imagine, if you remember the carnage and the stuff that was going on when in New Orleans when Katrina happened, right? Imagine that in every city, right? So that's what's happening. So back over here. Back to Jeremiah real quick. Let's say, says if boom, boom, boom. Jeremiah 49, verse 9. It says, if grape gatherers come to thee, would they not lead some glean grapes? If these by night, they will destroy until they have enough. Uh, um, so we know how they get down, right? They would not stop stealing. They would not stop unaliving. They came to rob, steal, and kill, and conquer. That's what they came to do, right? That's why they down in Venezuela. That's why they trying to talk about going to Cuba and other places, right? Because it says, if grape gatherers come to thee, would they not leave some gleaning grapes? Because understanding the Hebrew culture, how they did things when they did their agriculture, their farming. So if you got you a farm and got you a grapevine and you picking your grapes and stuff. So in our culture, our law, how we did it was, if you picking grapes, then whatever grapes fall on the ground, you leave those for the passerbys or the or poor people that might be hungry and they need something to eat, so they can. So it's not considered stealing if they is getting the grapes that fell from the ground, or the fruit or whatever you farming, right? So what this metaphor is speaking of is basically saying that these white people, these Caucasians, these Edomites would never stop stealing. They would take even the grapes that fell on the ground. They would take everything until they get enough, right? And that's why they still here, right? They came over here for gold and sugar, right? Hundreds of years ago, and they still here, right? They came for gold, sugar, and coffee, and tobacco, and women, and rum, right? That's when they came over here. This whole enterprise called America, this whole Western Hemisphere is set up because they are addicts. When you kind of break it down. I mean, they're addicted to sugar, so they enslaved our Haitian brothers and our Jamaican brothers down there. They're addicted to tobacco, so they enslaved us, right? They just greedy bastards, so they, enslaved the Tainos and the Mexicans down there and took their gold. I mean, that's their whole reason over here, because of their greed and their addictions. They love sugar, they done enslaved the whole nation for sugar, right? The whole coffee industry, tea industry is created because of their addiction, right? But yeah, and then they have a nerve to try to talk about drugs, fighting, doing all, the Venezuela stuff, right? When America is the biggest consumers of narcotics. This is crazy, right? America has the biggest drug addicts ever. Like, come on now. We know what's really going on. Anywho. So it says, but I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret place. And that's what's going on now. That's what we're doing right now. We're exposing these people for who they are, the wickedness. A lot of people as you can look on TikTok, wherever you want to look at, wherever you get your little stuff from, and you see people all over the world. It's like, these people is not so cool. Like, when we look back at history, they did a lot of messed up stuff. And you know what? Our country is really messed up. And now that I think about it, I think it's messed up because of them. So a lot of these people is coming to these conclusions, right? Before they done kidnapped our man, down in Venezuela, he was talking about how America is trying to bully everybody, right? China is, Xi Jinping was talking about like how, he ain't going for the tough talk, from America. He ain't with all that, right? So Iran, I mean, they've been calling these people the devil. They got, so it's on. I mean, it's just that We over here, we kind of a little hesitant to acknowledge the evil that they done, because I guess we think they're gonna, do something to us more than what they already have been doing. Um, so say, I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret place, and he shall not be able to hide himself. And that's what's going on. He's not be able to hide himself. Because look, let me tell you how cold the Most High is. And let's think about this verse where we just read. It says, and he shall not be able to hide himself. This man gets on TV and say, we're going to get the oil. We're going to bring our guys in there. We're going to take the infrastructure over. We're going to get the oil, man. We're going to get it. We're going to start pumping it, baby. The oil. We're taking over Venezuela. Taking it over. The man told you exactly what he was trying to do. Right? That's just like, usually those type of conversations is like held behind closed doors. They get on TV and tell us, the PC version. Oh yeah, war on drugs, war on terrorism. They got weapons of mass destruction. They give us the PC thing, but this man just literally said, nope, we on some imperialism. We taking them, and we taking whoever else we want to take. Whatever government we not in agreements with, we're just gonna knock them down, right? I mean, we don't get no clearer than that. It's but I have made Esau bare, I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled. Yes, their seed is spoiled. That's why they have a low birth rate. That's why they're being, they're dying off more than they're reproducing, right? Because the seed is spoiled. Then not only is the seed is spoiled in that fashion, it's spoiled in their actions. Look at how they are collectively as a people and what they have done and what they will do, right? You should, hold on 1 second. So like, I said like it. Alright, okay. Alright. We back. Welcome back to the #1 show among mail carriers who's always late on their route because they never had their mail in order properly. We finally getting our recognition, But yeah. Back to this, right? So it says, I have made Esau bare, I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, right? And because again, a lot of people will make the argument of, well, it's not all of them. It's not all of them. But okay, I agree, it's not all of them. Okay, but understanding this one fact here, that this is America, damn it. This is America. And here in America, they have a democratic society, right? And in that democratic system, they vote on things. So if you're voting on something, then it becomes law. That means the majority voted for it. So we can say, okay, yeah, it's not all of them, but can we agree it's at least 50% of them? I mean, it has to be. Because look at the laws that get passed, or was passed, and have gotten passed, right? We can just look at it from that angle, right? And if they're not, all out, at least they support racist ideas, at least, right? Can we at least come to that conclusion? Just looking at the statistics and understanding the function of this country and how laws get passed, right? So it'll be foolish to think that it's only a few of them when we can see the laws that's on the books, right? The laws don't get on the books if it's only a few of them. That should be common sense. So, says his seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not. Right? Because the Most High God is going to judge these people, and and they're going to get spoiled, just like they went around spoiling all the other nations. They're going to be spoiled, just like they went through and going around toppling governments and stuff, like they playing chess. The same thing. You can read about that in the book of Ezra. The people is going to take over, and it tells us that the power should stand in the hands of the people in that day, right? So that's why what we read earlier when it says the Most High judgment is like a ring, right? What goes around comes around, and people thought January 6th was something. Imagine, January 6th in every state, right? So right here it says, can Obadiah start back at 6? So it says, Obadiah 1 and 6 says this. How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? Meaning, who's going to figure this guy out, right? How long is it going to take for us to figure out, how these people operate and what they've been doing, the overlay for the underplay, whatever how you say, right? That's the name of the game, right? And I was telling people, getting back to that, the whole Venezuela thing. That's like, like to the untrained eye, it looked like all this stuff just been happening since, this man been in office. But this is a 20-year process. It started with Bush, when Bush was in office. Because you got to understand that at one point in time, Venezuela was like basically the second richest country on this side of the hemisphere. They was doing their thing. I was telling somebody earlier, I'm like, shoot, like about 20-something years ago, because I was thinking about, I'm like, what would be a good place to move outside of America? A nice, and Venezuela was one of the countries I'm like, all right, because they had their dollar was stronger than America at one point, and of course Bush and them didn't like all that. You can't have brown people dollars being stronger than the white man's dollar, so they caused dissension. So it's been a slow decline for ever since Bush was in office. Then Trump just came with the hammer. They've been doing. They did that to Iraq. I mean, they've been doing that. That's how they get down. The alphabet boys is very cunning and keen on how they operate. They put their little what's the word I'm looking for? They put their little infiltrators in these different nations and stuff like that, and then they just propagate. It might take a while, because we been at the bottom so long, and as a people we still on the come up, so we want everything like that. You know what I'm saying? We want it to be like that, but we don't understand the psyche of these people. These people will wait centuries for their whole plan to come into fruition. They don't think about today. They think about my great grandkids when they make plans. Okay? That's what we gotta understand. Stuff that they do it to last forever. Not just, okay, well, I'm in this life and, so let me try to, everything they do is to be for the next generation, right? That's how they do. And we gotta understand, that concept. And that's crazy. Let me see. Oh, it says, how are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? Meaning, how we, gonna figure this man out? Who's gonna figure this guy out? It says, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. Right? So, they got some allies. They got people that they think is cool with them, right? And it says, had brought even to to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee. So their little allies, who they think they went to school with, who they grew with the school with, they was cool with. They thinking all their allies are gonna be cool with them. But it's gonna come upon a time where a good portion of their allies is gonna turn on them, right? Because they're gonna be like, these people got us into some bull stuff, and we can't get out of it unless we jump ship and join with the BRICS, right? So, and we see Turkey. We talk about this all the time. Turkey is a part of the EU, but they're going to join with the BRICS though. And then you have other countries within NATO that is still doing business and stuff with Russia, and then you have certain countries in NATO that support Hamas and Iran. So dude, we can see the splinter in this whole thing, just like it tells us in the book of Daniel, right, chapter 2. So so it says, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee, and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. So all these countries that they try to break bread with and try to, share the wealth with and give money to and try to help out, it's going to come upon a time they be like, all right, okay, thanks for helping us, but, now we got to get you. Right? Help build us up real strong. Now we're big and strong. Now we can fight you. Right? And it says, had laid a wound under thee. There is no understanding in them. Meaning, when they get to that point in that day, there's no negotiations, no amount of money, no sanctions you can do to these countries to stop them from doing what they want to do, and that's going to be to destroy this place, right? We already see they've been sanctioning Russia since I was a kid. I've been looking on the news and hearing about Russia being sanctioned and Korea and everybody else getting sanctioned since I was a kid. They don't care about that stuff, right? They're still doing what they're going to do, right? And it says, shall I not in that day, said Yahweh, even destroy the wise man out of Edom, and understanding out of Mount Esau? Meaning, they're wise military experts and all that stuff. They're politicians, they're philosophers, they're scientists, they're, political scientists, whatever. They're not going to have the answers away. They're not going to have the answers. Right? And it says, and thy mighty men of Teman shall be dismayed to the end, and every one of the mount of Esau. What? Every one of the mount of Esau. Because you got to understand, when the Bible describes, a people as a mountain or a mount, it's talking about the whole nation, right? Because the Bible oftentimes describes nations as mountains and hills, right? And valleys, like we just read. So whenever, a lot of times when you see, it's not talking about, oftentimes it's not literal. When it's talking about people, when the context and the subject is people, the mountains is not actual mountains, it's nations. So we just read that these people is going to be destroyed. And what it say? The mighty men of Teman shall be dismayed to the end that every one of them, every one of Mount Esau may be cut off by slaughter. That is the Most High plan for these people, extermination. Because that's the only solution. What do you do with cancer? How do you get rid of cancer? Right? You have to cut it off and get rid of it, for it won't grow back. Because let's get this real quick. Cause that sounds. Why would he say that? Oh my God, that sounds mean. Can't believe he said it. Let's get Jeremiah 21. 14. And it say, not Jeremiah, Isaiah 14. Boom. My bad. Isaiah 14. And 21. And it says this: prepare slaughter for his children. So what is all these nations doing when they gearing up for war? They got their manufacturing companies pumping out all types of artillery for their nation, for this coming battle. It says, prepare slaughter for his children. Who is the children that we're speaking of? We're talking about the children of Esau, right? These people, right? Prepare slaughter for his children and the iniquity of their fathers. Because people will say, well, we wasn't back then, so why do I gotta pay for it? I didn't have no slaves. Why do I gotta pay for it? Well, the Most High God says this: prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers. Because you still here, alright? The easy fix would be for them to pack up their stuff and go back to wherever they came from. Right? Give the Native Americans back their land and say, you know what? My bad. All of y'all on those reservations, why don't y'all come on back to wherever y'all was at before? And we just gonna go back to wherever we was before, and let's just forget this ever happened, right? That'll be the easy fix. But they ain't gonna do that. That's why it says, prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities. So no more building for you. No more, we're gonna go conquer this and take that, and we're gonna do the infrastructure, get an infrastructure, baby. None of that, right? Because it says, prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise nor possess the land, nor fill the faces of the world with cities. Right? That's the Most High God plan and judgment for these people. Right? Let's get back over it. And it said, leave back to Jeremiah 49 and 10. I have made Esau bare, I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, his children, his seed is spoiled, and his brethren, and his neighbors, and he is not. Leave thy fatherless, and I will preserve them alive, and let thy widows trust in me. Right? That is heavy, that is deep, right? And it's not as beloved and benevolent as it may sound. Because it says, leave thy, hold on. Yeah. Oh yeah, we back. Oh yeah, we're back. Okay. Welcome back to the number one show among guys that be saying they going to work but really be sitting at home. Finally we getting our recognition. We getting our recognition around the world. Finally. We're back. I will lead thy fatherless. Thy fatherless children, I will preserve them alive. So this is talking about war, because when war happens, the men usually go to war, and a lot of them don't be coming back home. And then especially with this nuclear war, nobody's coming back. That is very unsurvivable, right? And especially the stuff they got now. And when it says, "Leave thy fatherless children," meaning a lot of men is gonna be unalive in this coming battle, right? There's gonna be a lot of things that's gonna be hard to smell, right? Then it says, "And let thy widows trust in me." So what that sound like? That sound like how we gotta trust in Esau today. A lot of our fatherless, single parent homes gotta trust in, their welfare system, and and other means to make it and to survive. And in that day, them people gonna have to depend on the mercy of the Lord to survive. And they better hope that God decide to make them, survive and make it to the other side, where they will be in bondage for 1,000 years, pursuant to Isaiah chapter 14, Revelation, and a lot of other places, right? In Isaiah chapter 60. So that's their restitution. If they're able to survive this coming war, this Armageddon thing, the surviving nations, their restitution will be able to serve the Israelites under the Mashiach Yahushua, who the world calls Jesus Christ, and we teach them how to serve the Most High Lord, the Most High God, right? So then there'll be peace and harmony, right? But judgment take place first. So I will lead thy fatherless children, I will preserve them alive, and let thy widows trust in me. Well, because, again, let's prove that. I just said a whole lot of stuff. So let's prove that real quick. Isaiah 14. So let's prove it. It says, so this is future connotation. Any scholar will tell you that this is kingdom connotation right here, right? This haven't happened yet. So it says, "For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob." This is Isaiah 14:1. "For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob, and yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land. And the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob, and the people should take them and bring them to their place. And the house of Israel should possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and for handmaids." So when I said earlier about, because a lot of people don't know that's in the Bible, that these other nations will go into servitude to the Israelites, when Christ come back. That is their version of salvation. They don't get to be destroyed in this nuclear war, but they get to be slaves to the Israelites. That's better than, the alternative. So it says, "For I will have mercy on Jacob," which is the Israelites, "and I will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land." So they're going to be set in their own land. "And the strangers should be joined with them." So those strangers is going to be joined with us, because we just read over here what it say. It said over here, it says, "I will lead thy fatherless children, I will preserve them alive, and let the widows trust in me." Right? So it says, "And the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob." So they're going to cleave to us, because it says, let the widows trust in me. They're going to cleave to the house of Jacob. "And the people should take them." We're going to take them. We're going to be like, come on. And they bring them to their place. We're going to bring them to our place, just like they brought us to their place. They took us to America. They took us to South America. They took us to the Caribbean. They took us everywhere, right? So we're going to bring them to our place. And the people should take them and bring them to their place. And the house of Israel should possess them. Yes, we're going to possess them, right? Because it says, don't bring you. I will lead thy fatherless children. I will preserve them alive, and let the widows trust in me. And how are they going to be trusting in them? Because the house of Israel should possess them in the land of the Lord for service and for handmaids, and it should take them captive. Who captives they were. So whoever took the Israelites in slavery and captive, it's going to be a trade in places. It's going to be a time where those nations will have to go into slavery. And again, we read about that in this chapter here. Isaiah 60, Revelation, so forth, all that cool stuff, right? So, it says, and Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids, and they shall take them captives who captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. Right? That's pretty clear. Right? So that's the promise and the prophecy that the Most High God had for his people. Right? But we don't know, a lot of us don't know that because Pastor is not going to read these verses to us, right? Pastor can't wear that nice fancy suit that he likes to wear if he's reading stuff like this, right? So let's go back over here. And it says, let's get Amos real quick. Amos 9 and 12. And it say, for they have possessed the remnant of Edom, for they may possess the remnant of Edom. So again, going back to what I said, yeah, they're going to trust in the Lord, all right. And we just read it because we're going to possess. It says, they may possess the remnant of Edom and all of the heathen. So we just read it in Jeremiah chapter 14, verse 2. And they shall put in the remnant. Excuse me. It said, in the remnant of the heathen, which is called by my name, said the Lord, that doeth this. Right? So those people that the Most High preserved in that day, because we're going to be the kingdom of Israel. A kingdom has to have servants. Right? What type of kingdom don't have servants? So the Most High is going to preserve a remnant of these people that's going to survive all this carnage after this whole war stuff is over with. And they're going to be the servants to the Israelites. They're going to build up the kingdom like we have to build up their kingdom and make them great. And because when you look at every society in history that was a great, powerful empire, one thing they had in common was they had us as their slaves, as their second-class citizens, right? When you look at the history, the Roman Empire was great. They had us enslaved. Greek Empire was great. They had us enslaved. The Egyptians, we know the story. They had us enslaved. The Persians, the Babylonians, right? All these people you can think of, right? Even the Oriental, right? Hold on. It's funny. So I like saying that word Oriental. I know supposedly it's not politically correct no more to say Oriental. It just sounds funny to me. I just like it. Sound like a funny word. So where we at? So it says then alright, then it says for thus saith the Lord, behold, They who judgment was not to drink the cup have surely drunken. So America thinks that they would never be touched. They this big bad, entity that nobody can mess with. So they think they'll never be touched, right? Just listen to the average person. And it says, "Thus said Yahweh, behold, they whose judgment was not to drink the cup have surely drunken, and art thou that he shall altogether go unpunished. Thou shalt not go unpunished, but thou shalt surely drink of it." Because they thought they would never have to face the wrath of God, right? They think they can do all this stuff they've been doing, and they think it's cool, right? It ain't cool. If you think God is cool with all the stuff that they've been doing on this planet since they've been doing it, then you don't serve the God of this book, because the God of this book is not cool with it. He got a judgment for them, right? And when we turn on the news, we see it getting passed every day. And it's going to get worse and worse. And it says, "I have sworn by myself," said Yahweh. So what did God say? What did the Most High God say? God said, "I put it on me." That's what he said. "I put it on me." God said on me. How people be like, on God. How a lot of little people out in these streets be like, on God, right? That's what people like to say, right? God said it himself. God said, "I put it on me," right? This is what he did. He put it on himself. What did he put on himself? "For I have sworn by myself," said Yahweh, "that Basra shall become a desolation." Yes, those people will become a desolation. Because, again, understanding when the Bible names a city, it's referring to the people, right? It's not always talking about the geographic location. Oftentimes it's, referring to the people because the Bible calls us Jerusalem. That's a geographic location, but we're not Jerusalem because we're people. But but we are Jerusalem in the sense of we are the people, if that makes sense, right? So the same way. So it says that Basra shall become desolate, a reproach, a waste, and a curse, and all the cities thereof shall be perpetual waste. Because that's what happens when nuclear destruction happens, especially the stuff they got now. This place is not going to be inhabitable for no one. And it says, "I have heard a rumor from Yahweh, an ambassador sent unto the heathen, saying, Gather yourselves together and come against her and rise up to do battle." Right? So God is putting a spirit on these other nations to come, gear up to go to war, to to get everybody amped up to, to want to fight, right? And, in these smaller nations, giving them the spirit to want to stand up to these bigger nations, right? So it says, "Gather ye together and come against her." And who is the her? America. America's the her. "And come against her, and rise up in battle. For lo, I will make thee small among the heathen, and despised among men." That's what we see. A lot of these countries like, man, forget them people over there. You know what? Forget them. We ain't messing with them. Right? That's why China is able to come in a lot of these countries, and especially in those African nations, and able to do business and get them on board with them. Because, to them, they offering them a better, cheaper deal. Then, America is like, do what I say. China like, all right, you can do it your way, but just let us stay. So it's different. So they looking at the different deals, right? So a lot of these countries is, like I said, picking sides. And it says, "For lo, I have made thee small among the heathen and despised among men." Right? And like I said, and these people, technically they are the smallest among the heathen because they are, when you look around the world, they are the minority of, because of their Caucasoid complexion, right? In that way, then you got the so-called curly man with the little coaster on the top of his head. They only 0.2%. So they're very small. And then small also meaning countries, disliking them. And we see a lot of these, nations is coming up and speak. You listen to some of those UN speeches and how they be speaking against, those two nations, and we know those two nations. The ones with the little curly stuff hanging from the side, and they got the little raccoon, the little raccoon. Some of them where I got to switch it up. That they get the little Russian hats with the big, thick, furry stuff. I call it now. I'm calling it a raccoon. They get the little raccoon and put it on their head, like Paul Revere. So very despised. And it says, thy terribleness have deceived thee, and thy pride in thy heart. So their terribleness have deceived thee, because they think about their mightiness of their military. They go around the world, they're able to crush any nation, they cause insurrections in any country they want to bring down the government. They're very sophisticated in the way they do things, right? And it says, thy terribleness hath deceived thee, and the pride of thy heart. So, they prideful. That's why Trump can get on TV and be like, coming for Cuba. Cuba, I don't know. Cuba's next. Cuba, who knows? Cuba, I don't know. They better watch out. I don't know. That's why he can say those things, right? Because thy terribleness hath deceived thee, and the pride of thy heart, thou that dwelleth in cliffs of the rocks. So just giving us giving a description of who we talking about. And we know their history. We know who came out of the caves. We know who the Neanderthals are. We know who it's so easy that a caveman can do it. People, why? It says, thy terribleness have deceived thee in the pride of thy heart, O thou that dwelleth in cliffs of the rocks. So if you understand the ancient Edomites, so-called Caucasians, the Edomites lived in Mount Seir. And if you look at Mount Seir, if you look it up, that's the Petra today, is in Petra, Jordan. You can see how they done carved their little caves in the little mountains that they used to live. Now, granted, the archaeology, the architect stuff on the outside look dope. I ain't gonna front. Now, my prejudice doesn't allow me to believe that they did that. I believe they did something, because the Horats was living there first, and they came and did what Esau do. Wherever they go, they unalive everybody. So they took that place from the Horats. So I don't know. The Horats could have built it, and they kind of just could have took the idea. Then by the time they got to Greece and Rome, and they started building their columns and everything like that too, they probably stole it. If you ask me, that's just my personal thing. And I refuse to believe that they have a original thought other than to murder and to grape and to unalive and to steal things that is not theirs. I refuse to think they think anything else other than that. But I digress. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But so where we at? Thy terribleness have deceived thee, and thy pride of the heart, O thou that dwell in cliffs of the rocks, that holdest the highest, the higher the hill, thou should make thy nest as high as the eagle. So, and that's what they do. That's why they build all these high-rise buildings, these skyscrapers. They like to try to put their little satellites up in the little sky and watch everybody and all that stuff, right? Because when you get into the culture of the Edomites, one of their gods that they worship was a half man, half eagle, right? That's why oftentimes their emblem, their symbol is always the eagle, right? They kind of honor that animal because it's the apex predator, then it's kind of their characteristics as a people. Because the eagle is a hunter, but he doesn't like hunt for his own food. The eagle waits for somebody else another animal to make a kill. Then as that animal is in the process of doing it, then the eagle come and swoop through and take it, right? So that's their spiritual animal, is a thieving bird that flies around waiting to take stuff, right? And then that's how they actually act. They go around taking things, right? And it says, thou should make thy nest as high as an eagle. I will bring thee down from hence, said Yahweh. So God said, although you make your nest high as an eagle, you put yourself high above all these nations, I'm going to bring you down, right? Let's get Jeremiah 51. So it says, thus saith the Lord, behold, I will rise up against Babylon. So Babylon again is talking about these Americas, because prophetically speaking, America is called Babylon or Mystery Babylon or the daughter of Babylon, right? Because a lot of people be like, well, where's America in the Bible? But that's why, prophetically, you can understand, when it's being mentioned. So it says, thus saith the Lord, behold, I will rise up against Babylon and against them that dwell in the midst of them, that rise up against me, and that rise up against me, a destroying wind, and I will send unto Babylon fanners that shall fan her, and shall empty her land. For the day of trouble they shall be against her round about. So it's talking about gonna heap up trouble. When let's read it one more time. It's talking about when Iran or Korea or Russia decide to push that button, all them other countries that been wanting to get out of America, they're gonna push it too. That's what it mean by they're gonna fan the fire, right? What it says, thus saith the Lord, behold, I will rise up against Babylon and against them that dwell in the midst of them, that rise against me, a destroying wind. A destroying wind is talking about that army. I will send unto Babylon fanners that shall fan her. So the fanners is that nuclear capability, that these countries have, right? And it says they shall fan her. So meaning they gonna use them things they got. Russia, like when this thing first started, Russia was like the first one to tell America and NATO to back off, because I'm going to push the button. If y'all get in this, I'm pushing the button. He didn't say, I'm going to go to war with y'all too and we're going to fight it out. He jumped all the way to the extreme and said, I'm pushing the button, right? I ain't playing with you people. I'm pushing the button, right? So it says, I will send unto Babylon fanners that shall fan her and shall empty her land, for the day of trouble shall be against her round about. And then these nations is gonna, all the nations got, just like how America got certain nations target, these nations got this place target too, right? Don't think, it ain't no thing, typed in a little missile launch pad, at a city near you, right? Don't think it ain't happening. And it says, against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow. Against him that lifteth, let him against him that lifteth himself up in his bragging, and spare not her young man, destroy ye utterly all her hosts. And that's what's gonna happen when they push that button. immediately wipe out to wherever in whatever vicinity it hits, right? They got stuff that can take out the whole west coast of America. They got stuff that can take out the whole tri-state area, right? That's what they got, right? It's not no longer stuff that, when America did what they did, they was able to mess up a city. They done, did two cities, right? What they did. They got stuff that can take out states now, right? Not just a city. They got stuff that can, make the whole dango region of a whole country, and man, what's going on out there? Little crazy folks. They got some stuff that can just cripple a whole state, a whole region of a country, a whole country, technically, right? That's what they got now. So it says, says, against him that bendeth, let the archers bend his bow, and against him that lifteth himself in his bargain, and spare not her young men, destroy utterly all her hosts. So again, that archer is those missiles, where it says it says him that bendeth let the, so that's that person that's sitting at the little missile launch pad that's pushing in the little code. The archer is that little missile launcher, right? And the bow is the launch pad, right? If you can understand. Then it says against him. Okay, then it says thus the slain shall fall in the land of the Chaldeans, and they that are thrust through in the streets. For Israel have not been forsaken, nor Judah of his God, of the Lord of hosts, though their land was filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel. So God's like, look, I ain't forget about y'all people, man. I got y'all back. I'm going to take care of these people that been messing with y'all for all this time, right? And it says, flee out of the midst of Babylon, and deliver every man his soul. So meaning in that day, that's what I be trying to tell people, like, we are in the fourth quarter, 2-minute warning of this whole thing, right? And so we don't have time for the pettiness, because a lot of people are still caught up in their little petty arguments and their little petty beefs that they got with each other. I tell people, look, if it ain't no life-changing thing, look, leave me alone with all that stuff, because we at the point where this whole thing about to flip and change, and we don't need to be fighting each other. We need to be coming together, right? Not fighting, coming together, because it's about to get crazy, right? And dealing with Esau and them people, they are ready to go crazy. We know how much ammunition these people got, right? They are ready for the crazy, right? We are the ones that's not ready for the crazy. Even the people that made the movie The Purge, right? It's the scene in that I forgot which purge it is, but it's where they was getting the blacks. They was going to attack the blacks. We're gonna get the blacks. We're gonna get to go to the neighborhoods. We're gonna get the blacks. It was that one, right? So, the purge started, and all in the black neighborhood, they having a black party, just chilling. When all chaos is breaking out throughout the whole country, these people want to have a black party, right? So we mentally, spiritually ain't prepared. These people have been preparing for this day forever, ever since we left off the plantation, because they always thought one day they gonna come and get us, right? And so that's why they've been stacking up all this, artillery and weapons and stuff like that, because that's why they, act the way they act towards us, because they think one day, because they would do it. That's why they think this. They think one day we just going to decide to just going to switch on, and we can be like, you know what? Let's repay them back. And they worry. So they arm themselves, then any type of aggression that you might perceive to have, then that's when Karen come out. That's when the Karens come. Because they're there to try to monitor the aggression. To make sure you don't get too aggressive. Don't get too aggressive, black guy. You're being too aggressive. What is wrong with these guys? Right? Don't do that, right? So they're here to police it, right? So it says this. It says, for Israel has not been forsaken, nor Judah of his God, of the Lord of hosts, though their land is filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel. Flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. So again, we gotta cut the bull amongst ourselves, because like the Bible says, you have to work out your own salvation in that day. Meaning, it's gonna be every man for themselves, right? So that's why we need to come together, like it tells us in Zephaniah chapter 2, verse 1. It tells us to come together, right? Before the destruction comes, right? So instead of us fighting over little stuff, everybody come together. Family, come together. Friends, everybody come together, right? Because you're going to need each other, right? Because, trust me, these people, we haven't seen nothing, right? We haven't seen their full Edomitic power that they got. Their full, when they in their full Esau mode. Our Native American brothers saw it. They 80 million of them saw it, right? Our Taino Indians brothers down there, they saw it, right? But we haven't seen the fullness of their hell that they're capable of bringing, right? We seen how they get when they get angry. We saw January 6th, so we know what they do when they get angry, right? I'm trying to tell you. It says, flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul, and be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of the Lord's vengeance. Because God is going to come back and pay these people back. And it says, flee out of the midst. So spiritually, we got to disinvolve ourselves from this place, right? Spiritually don't celebrate none of the stuff they like to do. Don't involve ourselves in this Americanized culture. Come back to our own culture of a people, right? And it says, be not cut off for her iniquity. Meaning the stuff that America likes to do, don't be involved in that, because that's the thing and everybody's doing it because, because this place is going down, right? So, and like the metaphor I like to use a lot is when the Most High God coming back to judge this world, he's doing a drive-by, right? And he's not doing a drive-by with a very accurate weapon. He's using a shotgun to do this drive-by, right? And if you just so happen to be out there when he's trying to get these people, he's going to get you too. And he ain't going to think twice about it, because it just said over here, flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off out. So God telling you, hey, look, you saw me coming with that thing. I told you I'm about to go air this whole block out. You still out there. I know I done shot you in the leg, my bad, but you was out there though. I told you not to be out there. He like, flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity. Meaning, don't be so involved in this whole Americanized way of life that you end up losing your soul because, you just want to, just so enamored and so enticed on this American lifestyle. And it says, For this is the time the Lord venges. He will render unto her a recompense. Meaning he's going to pay these people back. So don't be caught up in the things that America likes to do and propagate. Stay away from it. Separate yourselves from those things that America likes and propagate. Because God is judging America for what they like and propagate. And if you don't want to get judged in the midst of it, that's why it says, flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Right? So God trying to tell you what's happening, trying to give you the warning, like, hey, yo, don't be on that block when I come over there. You know, I'm coming at them guys, but if you out there, I'm going to have to I'm going to have to probably associate you with them. You know what I'm saying? So don't be like that. Revelation 17 real quick. Revelation 17 in verse 2. 17 in verse 2 says this. With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So a lot of these nations that's getting taken down in this coming war is because their dealings with this place. Because their connections to this place, their business endeavors to this place. Because it says, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, meaning their business deals, their ties to this place, America, you know, it has also putting these other nations' livelihood in jeopardy, right? And it is in jeopardy because they're dealing with this place. That's why we just read over here when the Most High told you to separate, get your butt up out of Babylon. You know, don't be out there when I come out there. Because when I come out there, it ain't safe for nobody. Right? Because it says, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So all these nations have dibble and dab in the philosophies of America and pushing their way of life in some form or fashion. Right? And of course, the ones that don't want to get down with the program, of course, America is beefing with them and trying to bomb them, right? But a lot of these countries, the world has followed behind them. Even Russia and everybody else, like even though Russia and China is not down with the program, but they still drink the cup. Hey, look, check this out. It's funny though. It's funny. You get the little Tubi thing. You watch Tubi, right? And you know they got. You know, they got their little international movies and stuff too, right? So Russia, right, it's funny. Because Russia, they hate America, right? They do. But a lot of movies they make copies America's movies. Same concept, same thing, same everything. They just do it the Russian way. So it's like we got, what's that movie with Matt Damon when he's on Mars and stuff, right? What's it called? The Martian or something, right? I seen this on Tubi. Russia got the same exact type movie, but it's called the Kazanat, or however you say it in Russian. I think that's the word, Kazanat. I think that's the Russian way of saying astronaut. So, same type movie, except for there's no Matt Damon. They got some other little Russian dude. It's the same thing. I just thought it was so funny. I'm like, they hate this place so much, but they copy the culture and reproduce it, you know, in their version. Like even with Coca-Cola, right? I mean, this is different with Germany though, because this is back during World War II. Coca-Cola, you know, America, that's an American thing. So Germany's like, well, so they got Coca-Cola. I mean, it's cool and all, but we got, what is it called? What's it called? Nigger something, right? But you know, basically black cola, you know, because nigger, negro is Latin for, you know, black or whatever, right? But yeah, it says, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So a lot of these nations is gonna, you know, be, you know, is dealing with America and so in bad, you know, and so deep in bad with them with the destruction of this place, it's going to cripple their nation also. Because America feeds a lot of nations around the world. America take care of a lot of countries. I looked it up. I don't want to lie. I don't know. I don't even know why I just said I looked it up. But I did look it up, but I can't remember the number. But I know it's above 60%. You know, I know that. I really want to say about 70 or more. But like I said, I don't want to give a specific number because I can't remember an exact number. But America feeds and responsible for a lot of nations. If America get destroyed or fall economically or that for whatever reason, that's going to crush damn near the whole world because a lot of nations feed off this place, right? So that's why it says, with the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of fornication. So then let's get back to go back to Jeremiah 31. And it says, Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore, the nations are mad. So a lot of these nations, you look around the world, it's all jacked up. You know, all these nations is all corrupt. They all got a corrupt type of government, some type of fashion. That all the people, no matter what part of the world you at, all the people is getting mistreated some type of form of fashion. The government is doing something, you know. And, you know, especially the ones that's in bed with, you know, this government here. So it says, Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, meaning America has been a great nation for such a long time where all the nations of the world look to this place. You know, even now, they still look at, oh, what's America going to do about it? We need America to do this. What America going to do, right? They always look at America for what they're going to do. But now, of course, nowadays you got a lot of countries looking like, why we need America? What they over here for, right? So it's kind of changing. That's, you know, why what we read earlier about how he's going to make them small among the nations. But anyway, so it says, Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand and made the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore, the nations are mad. You know, meaning they're so embedded with this nation. Again, like I said earlier, if something drastic was to happen to this place, it will cripple a lot of other nations. When the stock market crashed in the 20s, that hurted a lot of countries in Europe. You know, to the point where they became poor, right? When America was going through their recession several years ago, when Bush was in office, a lot of countries was going through hard times at the same time. When recently, when Biden was in office and gas prices was astronomical, a lot of the countries that mess with America, gas prices was astronomical, right? So what happens here affects the world. It affects the dice around the whole world, right? It affects the die around the whole world, right? So it says, let's get Romans real quick. Romans 9, the book of Romans. Romans 9 and 17. And it say, for the scripture said unto Pharaoh, because we got to understand, like, the Most High God rules in the kingdom of man. He does what he wants, right? He does what he wants. Let's get this real quick. Hold on. Hold on, man. Hold on. Let's get this in Daniel real quick. Let's tell everybody what's going on in the world. Get it in 4. So now, this is Daniel chapter 4, verse 17. Let's read this really, really quick. For this matter is is by the decree of the watchers, and a demand by the word of the holy ones, to attend that the living may know. So it's something that the angels of heaven want the people to know. So what do the angels of heaven want the people to know? What should we be knowing about this whole thing? It says the holy ones, it says the watchers, and determined by the word of the holy ones, to attend that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men. Meaning God, he used these different kingdoms as action figures, as pawns on a chessboard. He put this nation here and make them powerful. He take that nation and make them powerful. Then like, okay, this nation is powerful, that nation is powerful. Okay, fight. Then whoever wins, okay, they the new power. Boom. Okay, boom, over here. So he rules in the kingdom of man. He makes kings. He makes rulers. He makes powerful nations. He makes poor nations. He makes all nations. Right? Because it says this matter is by the decree that of the watchers and the demand of the word of the holy ones, to intent that the living may know. So these are things that we should know. When we look on the news and we see all the stuff happening, and we act like God is not in control, like, oh, God is so horrible. But we got to understand God runs everything. Everything. You got to believe it, because you can't say that he's this all-powerful being and he has no control over what's going on in this earth. Everything is all, all ordained. And it's all according to his plan, because again, he's the writer and the author of this movie. This is the greatest movie ever written, right? If a millennium from now, somebody sit down and decide to write a movie about this whole thing, it'll be dope, right? But it still wouldn't do it as justice as how this thing is going right now, right? So he rules in the kingdom of men. Right? He controls everything, every aspect. And it says, the holy ones, to attend that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of man, and give it to whomsoever he will, and set over it the basis of man. So God will put whoever he want over this world. He even take the base of the men and have them rule this world. And who is the base of the men? The base of the men, the base men, are your low subcategory of humans who we would probably call Neanderthals, who we would probably call cavemen, who we would know better today as Esau, right? And their rest of their little Edomite buddies, right? They are the base of men. Oh, did he say that? Oh my God, I can't believe he just called those people so they're like the lowest species of humans. Did he say that? Yeah, because the Bible says it, right? Let's get that real quick. Oh, let's get it. Let's get it. Like Jeezy said, let's get it. Let's just get it really quick. Right? Because we just freestyling, in case you don't know. We freestyling on this whole thing, right? What I mean by freestyle, we're just going through the spirit, right? So we just moving through this thing, right? So let's get it. Right here. Let's start at Job chapter 30. Let's read this thing to about, let's see. It says to about verse 8. It says, but they that are younger than me, but now they that are younger than I have been in the origin, whose fathers, who I would have disdained and have disdained to have set with my dogs and my flock. So Job is, getting, ridiculed and teased and bothered by these Edomites, in the land that he's living in, right? And he's like, these people, man, I can't. How dare they talk to me like this when they're the bottom of the bottom? I wouldn't even let them sleep where I keep my dogs at. Wherever I keep my dog and let my dog be at, they're not allowed to be in the same area with my dog because we know what they like to do with dogs, right? It's not. It goes further than the kissing. We know what they like to do with dogs, and Job know what they like to do with dogs. That's why he said, "Whose fathers I would have disdained to have set with my dogs of my flock." Yeah, whereto might the strength of their hands profit me, and in whom my own age was perished. For want of famine they were solitary, uh, feeding into the wilderness and former desolate ways. Because they was down in there in Petra, Jordan, right? Down there in Lebanon or in that little area, right? Doing their little thing, robbing and stealing from everybody, right? That's a desert area where they was come from, where they built their little caves and stuff at, where they was at. So it says they want in famine they were solitary, fleeing into the wilderness and former desolate waste. Who cut up mellows by bushes and jumper roots for meat. Meaning these people were so primitive, they didn't even know what's to eat. They just looking at any bush and just grabbing stuff off the bush and just eating it, right? That's how primitive they was. Just grabbing, just eating whatever, right? Then it says, who cut up mellows by the bushes and jumper roots for meat. Meaning just eating grass and roots and just tree bark or whatever they can find, right? That's what they do, right? That's why they like tread mix now. There's a whole bunch of nuts and stuff to put together and grapes and whatever they just find and mix together. But I ain't gonna front though. I ain't gonna front. Some of they tread mix be kind of decent. I ain't gonna front. But I mean, we can see the whole process of that, right? Going back to this. So then it says they were driven from among men. So now this is again, this is giving some history. So again, I know we only read like 5 verses, but it's a lot of history in these 5 verses that we're reading, covering a lot of time. So the Babylonians, when they came into power, they ran them up out of there. They got them up out of the land of Seir and Petra. That's how they end up eventually making their way up north to Europe and going to the Caucasus Mountains eventually. But because the Babylonians ran them up out of there, got them up out of there, right? And so it says they were driven forth. They were driven forth from among men. They cried after them, after a thief, meaning we hurried up and got them up out of there, right? We chased them up out of there. When it says you cry after them, like you cry after a thief, just like for those might be more familiar with the movie Boys in the Hood, when it was all outside and that guy ran by and took Doughboy chain, and they ran after him and caught him before he even made it really across the street. So that's how these nations were coming after and chasing after these Edomites to get them up out of that region of the land. And that's how, that's how a lot of them end up going further north into Turkey, into the Caucasus Mountains of Russia, Georgia, etc. Right? So it says they were driven forth from among men. They cried after them as after a thief, to dwell in the cliff of the valleys, in the caves of the earth. Again, these cave people that we're talking about, because we know that they the only ones that really dwelt in caves, consistently, like as a means of life. Not to say that it wasn't other people living in caves, but they are predominantly known for their cave dwelling. That's why they're called Caucasians, because Caucasian means cave dweller, right? So it says, to dwell in the cliffs of the valleys of the caves of the earth, in the rocks, among the bushes. This is one of my favorite verses in here because I like it and it's funny. But it says, when you read it in a different translation, so it says, in the bushes they brayed, meaning they made animal noises. They make these little animal sounds that they do. And I like to liken it to the way I can best explain it is just like find you one of those little drunk hillbilly Caucasian Edomite people. and see what they do when they get drunk. You know, the yeehaws and the little stuff, right? It's this I wish I could find a video. My a friend of mine sent it to me. There was some people living in what is that, the Appalachian Mountain stuff over there in Kentucky somewhere in that area. I don't know. Straight up hillbillies, right? Never had a lick of education at all. So, and like I said, they make animal noises like I don't even want to say it. I don't even want to make the noise, you know, because it's just crazy. This picture, a human that can't vocalize sounds, and they just make animal type grunts like cavemen, right? This picture, how a cave person would talk, and that's what these people were talking like in the 2000s, 2020 something, right? Some little spot in the Appalachian Mountains somewhere, right? So Esau is still in their natural habitat. I even look at it like some people would look at it like, oh, that's horrible. You know, maybe if they went to school and learned, that's how they naturally is. If you leave them alone, don't do anything to them, that's who they are, right? We're looking at the clean up version. We see them in their little suits and they can done shaved a little bit, you know. We look at that and judge it and be like, oh no, that can't be. But nah. This is their natural habitat is what it say? Among the bushes they brave, meaning they make animal noises, they grunt, you know. And it says the nettles they were gathered together. So this is the point. This is why we came here. Because, you know, I called them base men. And base meaning the lowest subhuman category of the human species that's on the planet. I said that. And this is why I said it. Because of here. They were children of fools. Who are these people? That's why the Bible says that the wise men of Teman should be destroyed. Because they were children of fools. Yeah, children of base men. What did God call them? Oh my God, did God call them subhuman? Part of a subhuman category as well? Oh my God, did God get to hear? He loves everybody. Why would he say that? Subhuman category. We can look it up in other translations. It says they were children of fools. Yeah, children of base men. They were valor of the earth. Meaning these are the most wicked, despised people on the planet. And it's true to this day. Right? So this is how the Bible describes them. And I tend to agree with it. Right? And you should too. So let's get back over here. So it says Babylon has been a golden cup, Jeremiah 51:7. Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand and made the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore the nations are mad. Right? And that's what happened. These nations are mad. It says Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her the balm for her pain, if so she may be healed. So, you know, balm is like medicine, you know, ointment and stuff, right? So like God, like there's no balm, no ointment, no medicine to fix this place. It's gonna just be desolate forever. There's nothing you can do to fix this place, right? Oh, let's get this really, really quick. Hold on. Hold on 1 second. So yeah, Ecclesiastes get 1 and verse 9 real quick. It says the thing that has been, it is it is what shall be, and which is done, what shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. Right. So basically, it's nothing new under this earth. Right. So like the stuff we're talking about, you know, it's not new because the Most High God had to destroy these nations once before, and like He did in the times past with when the Babylonians, came into power, right? And so just like how it says, Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken her wine. Therefore, the nations are mad. Babylon is suddenly fallen, destroyed. How for her taking bomb for her pain. So if so be, she may be healed, right? So just like how Babylon was destroyed, right? It's going to be destroyed again, but the only difference is this Babylon is not going to be inhabited, right? This one is not going to. It's not going to be no more. It's going to be population 0 when this one is destroyed, because ancient Babylon was destroyed and taken down, but it was taken down and destroyed without an arrow being fired. That's why we can still see Iraq and Iran over there today, and they still living and flourishing and still a civilization over there. But in this second Babylon, it's no population after them things go off, right? Back over here, it says Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her take balm for her pain. If so she will be healed. So meaning there's nothing that can heal America. Like once that nuclear fire, the ICBM missiles hit this place, it's no amount of money that England or Britain or one of their little best friends can conjure up to try to put some money together to send a fund or a rescue fund for America. It ain't gonna be no hashtag pray for America, when it's happening. It's gonna be hashtag goddamn America, right? Then it says, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Meaning these nations gonna be like, oh shoot, we could have fixed America, but I mean, how much money you got, France? I don't know, man. I don't know if I got it like that. What about you, Germany? You got anything to help America? I mean, shoot. I mean, we still kind of fighting Russia over here, so I don't know what's going on. So it says, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Meaning their counterparts is not going to be able to do anything about it. Like when certain tragedies and atrocities happen to different nations that America and their allies are cool with, they come together, they put together some type of relief fund, Red Cross and all that stuff shows up, right? But it ain't gonna be none of that. It says, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her. Meaning there's nothing we can do. Abandon ship. It's just like when Red came over to get his bike back from Debo and he got knocked out, and then Debo looked at the father like, you want something too, old man? He was like, no. That's what these countries gonna be like when they see America get destroyed. The BRIC squad gonna look at them like, y'all want some of this too? They gonna be like, no. It says, we would have healed America, but she is not healed. Forsake her. Meaning, no. Y'all want some of this too, old man? It says, forsake her. and let us go everyone to his own country, for her judgment reached unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies. So they like, look, when these places go kabooey, all the other nations gonna be like, ah, shoot, damn, time to go. Yep, they tripping over here, trying to get up out of here. Shoot, America done got blown off the map. I think we might be next if we ain't careful, and we don't want no problems, right? And so that's how it's gonna go down. A lot of these nations, like it tells us in Revelation, for the fear of seeing what happened to America, they gonna be scared and not gonna want no trouble at all. They gonna, like I said, they ain't gonna want the beef, but they gonna get it. Pause. So I'm gonna say shalom. Hopefully that was edifying. We understand that in this, as we moving through this prophetic timeline, how real stuff is getting and how close we are, to this whole thing, right? That's why we gotta keep our eyes open and see what's going on, in these politics and all that, So again, I'm gonna say shalom. Hopefully that was edifying. Until next time, peace. We out.